Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some I Know the Owner stories.
The first story is called This Is Your Place? This happened many years ago. My stepdad was a very intelligent and versatile man. He worked for NASA in his youth. His father too taught adults with learning disabilities and eventually retired due to bad health and became a gardener. During this time, he met and worked for a wonderful couple who just so happened to be multimillionaires, although you wouldn't know it to look at them. They dressed nicely but were always ready to muck in and get their hands dirty when needed. They are salt of the earth people, hardworking, kind and definitely don't take any crap. The wife swears like a trooper and often dresses down when working in the garden and will happily pop out to the shops in the same attire. Unfortunately, not long after meeting, the husband had an accident and demised. His wife was obviously devastated and soon became a fast family friend of ours as my dad helped her with everything in her giant house and around the businesses she still owned, which just so happened to be in one of the most affluent areas in our city. So one day, Pam asked my stepdad to help her cut back some bushes and get rid of some rubbish at the back of one of the sections of shops with very expensive apartments on top that she owns. My stepdad of course agrees. So off they go and have been there a good few hours, cutting down, pruning, bagging up, and getting everything ready to burn in the incinerator. There had been a bit of window twitching from one of the apartments while all this was going on, but they had a big job to do and were losing light fast, so they had a deadline they were working to. Now, in my country, it's customary to not have any fires or burn anything until dusk, however it is not law and doesn't count if on private property. So Pam and my stepdad were just filling the incinerator and had set it alight when the window twitcher suddenly bursts out onto the balcony and starts screaming down at Pam and my stepdad. The crazy lady yelled, "What the heck do you think you are doing? I've been watching you for hours now and you can't be here. This is private property, my property." My stepdad told her, "Lady, go back inside please, we're not doing you any harm, we have a job to do here, just let us work, please." The crazy lady screamed, "No, you are not allowed to be here. You are obviously not from around here, just look at you. I'm worried you are up to no good." Stepdad again told her, "Look, miss, please let us work. We are losing light and will have to come back tomorrow to finish up if we waste any more time now." And he goes to light the incinerator again. The crazy lady screams, "No, stop, how dare you. You are waiting till it's dark so you can break into my apartment. Plus, it's illegal to have a fire before dusk so you have to stop. I'm calling the police to report your suspicious behavior and that you are having a fire and destroying my private property. You could never afford anything like this, so just leave and take your rubbish with you. Both of you are trouble." Then she pointed at stepdad who looks anything but English, "Get away from my apartment, you are not welcome here, even to pick up rubbish." And then she pointed at Pam, "You should be ashamed of yourself, even being in the company of someone like that." She even started threatening to throw things at them from her balcony to make them move away. "Get away from my property, this is my apartment, you need to get away from it." Bear in mind Pam has kept quiet throughout all this so far, just keeps cleaning up and shaking her head at this crazy lady's insinuations. The incinerator had started to burn properly now when the crazy lady screamed and started shouting about calling the police and having them arrested. Pam had finally had enough and shouts, "Listen here, you crazy woman, you go ahead and call the police on us, I will have you arrested for false accusations and harassment." Then the crazy lady told her that she is scum and has no power here and she will call the police. That must have pushed Pam over the edge as she spun around and screamed at the crazy lady. "Right, now I am calling the police, you stupid cow, not only have you harassed us, threatened us, but now you've pushed it too far. Listen here lady, I can burn whatever I want on this property, regardless of the time of day. I am doing it at dusk to be courteous to you, but you've messed that up. This is my building, I own the whole thing including the apartment you're currently sat in. That's right, I'm your landlord. We have been here today clearing my property because it's overgrown and you hadn't bothered to do it even though it's a condition of your lease. So, as a result of the blatant disregard and breaking of your tenancy, plus your disgusting attitude today along with the threats, I feel I may have no option but to not renew your tenancy contract when it expires, which is very soon, and request that you start making other arrangements as soon as possible." The look on the crazy lady's face was a mix of ashen and red humiliation as Pam removed her hat to reveal the huge diamond stud earrings she always wore and her signature hairdo. The crazy lady's face dropped and she ran back inside, slamming the door and pulling down the blind. Pam and stepdad continued with their work, now pretty much in the dark, but the incinerator was still burning brightly. They both returned the next day to continue with the work that needed doing and not a peep from the crazy lady. Pam decided to ask around the other neighbors of the apartments and the shops downstairs to see if that particular neighbor had been giving anyone else problems. Guess what? She was constantly banging on the floors during the days, which disrupted the shops, and she was always banging on the walls of other apartments for no reason during the night. So the crazy lady's tenancy was not renewed and she was made to move out not long after the incident. The next story is called, Here is Your Chance to Speak to the Owner. This happened about a week ago when I was asked to fill in for a friend at a ski center. The layout of the area is somewhat important to the story, so allow me to give you a short tour. There are 5 ski lifts from left to right: family lift, kiddie lift, which is just a rope that the kids hold on to and it takes them about 10 meters up, 2 anchor lifts beside each other, and the last one leads to the street, which is for rails and jumps. None of them are gondola lifts as the center only requires anchor lifts. I was working at the so-called family lift, which is meant for families with little kids. This means that the slope is small compared to the rest so that everyone in the family can ride together. Next to the lift I was working at is a sledding slope, which is for people who just want to come sledding, and this is free, meaning you don't need a ski pass to enter. Also, every lift has a snowmobile, and I had mine parked next to the lift so I could have somewhere to sit if I wanted to, and due to the cold, the suspension was somewhat frozen, which meant that when someone took a seat on the snowmobile it made a sound. I was helping a young girl onto the lift as she was having problems. That was one of my tasks at work. When I had my back turned while helping the girl, I heard the suspension creak and my first thought was that, oh, my turn to go get lunch, as I thought it was my coworker. But no, I turn around and see 2 of Karen's goblins trying to start the snowmobile. So I said, hey, what on earth do you think you are doing? Goblin 1 said, we want to drive the snowmobile. And Goblin 2 said, yes, we are going to drive it up the slope. So I told them, no, you can't do that, you are not old enough and you can't drive this unless you work here. You have to be at least 16 to drive one, and they were about 5 or 6 years old. Goblin 2 said, but Mum said we could. So I explained, I don't care what your mum says, you are not allowed on it. I need you to leave. And guess who cut me off mid-sentence? Yes, it was Karen, and she screamed, why are you talking to my babies? So I asked her, ma'am, are they your goblins? She said, yes, now tell me why you are talking to them. So I explained, they were on the snowmobile and trying to start it to take it for a joyride. Karen said, so? I told them they could. I said, they can't do that, they're not old enough, they don't work here and they haven't been trained on how to operate it. Karen said, stop being so rude and just teach them how to operate it now. I explained again, I can't, they're not old enough, and unless you work here you are not allowed not drive it in the area. At this, the goblins started to cry. Now Karen started to get really mad, now look at what you've done. You made them sad. I demand you start the snowmobile and let them ride. At this point, one of our regulars and a former co-worker came to the lift and gave me a look like, you need help, son? I told him, oh hi Mike. Tell the boss I said hello. I know it sounds cheesy to say we used a code, but we have all been told that if we are in a situation where we need the owner to tell someone who works or has worked there to tell the owner I said hello. The boss would then come down if possible. Anyway, he understood and he went up with the lift and down the slope towards the office. Now during the 10-second window, Karen had climbed the fence and joined her kids at the snowmobile to get it started. And then something struck me and I don't know why I didn't notice it before. No one of them was in ski gear, no helmets, ski boots, skis, or anything, and the Karen had left 2 sleds behind the fence. So I still somehow polite asked, why isn't any one of you in ski gear? Karen said, because we decided to just go sledding. So I told her, you can't be on this side of the gate if you aren't planning to ski. Karen screamed, yes, we can, we are paying customers. We ate inside the restaurant. So I told her, that doesn't matter, you can't be here unless you are going to ski. And that got Karen to scream even louder, shut up you little idiot. We are paying customers and that means have the right to be here and the right to ride the snowmobile. At this point, I lost it. I decided to use my army voice that I learned in compulsory military service. Okay, that's it, get off the snowmobile, now. I commanded them, and they all looked shocked. I guess they never expected a reaction like that from me. Karen was still shocked and stuttered, how dare you talk to me like that? You need to show your elders some respect. I cut her off before she could even finish that nonsense. I have tried to be polite and to tell you kindly to leave the snowmobile and yet you have refused. Do you realize that your kids could get injured or even worse injure someone if they drove this thing? You and your kids need to leave as you clearly have nor right nor deserve the right to be here. At this point, she tried to play the victim card when a family of 6 came to the lift. She yelled, help, this boy is harassing me and my babies. Luckily for me, the family didn't believe her when I explained the situation and I assured them that I didn't need help. At this point, Karen decided that she would play the infamous I know the owner card. With a smug look on her face, she said, you know, I know the owner, so unless you want to lose your job I suggest you start this snowmobile. I don't know why she didn't care about my warnings. So I played along, you know the owner? At this point, I saw the owner walking towards us as the regular had sent him. I said, well, here is your chance to explain to him why I should get fired. I could see Karen worry a little, but she quickly shook it off. The owner asked, what is the problem here? Karen flew into a rant, your employee has been so rude towards me and my kids and refused to let my angels ride the snowmobile even though I know we are allowed to do so as paying customers. The owner explained, no, you are not allowed to because it is dangerous and wasteful. Also, I can see that none of you are dressed to be on this side of the fence and thus I can assume you have not paid to be here. Karen pointed at me, well, what about him? He is not dressed for skiing either. The owner said, well, that is because he works here and he should not be dressed for skiing. Karen was slowly realizing that she is fighting a losing battle and decided to go for the harassment claim, well, he harassed me and my babies and I demand he is fired for his behavior. Now, the owner is a chill guy and has a great sense of humor and does not take crap from anyone and he saw he had an amazing chance to strike down this Karen. He said, well then, should we see what audio the cameras have recorded? Karen was shocked, no, that is not necessary, but I demand that he be fired for his behavior. The owner cut her off. He said, and I guess I should also tell my daughter that her boyfriend is a horrible person for harassing a mother and her children, right? You see, what Karen didn't know is that I have been dating the owner's daughter for 2 years and when I have time, I spend the weekends at her family's house. At this point, Karen realized that her battle was lost and just on cue, she started shrieking about how she will leave a horrible Facebook review, how the police will hear about this, how she will never come back because we are so horrible to customers, you know the drill. After she left, the owner and I started laughing and he said he would save the security footage because he wanted to keep this as a Karen takedown trophy. Not long after, I got my lunch break and I called my girlfriend to tell her about the encounter and she started laughing as well. I do hope I get to see her again so I can ask her if she would like to see the owner again. The third story is called, I Will Get You Fired. When I was young, my mother worked for a car dealership owned by this really nice older guy. This guy was really well off, very well spoken, he owned the dealership, the building, the land, at least half a dozen other businesses in the area, and most of the land and commercial properties in the town. But for all that, he was also the kind of guy who would hear that his staff's 14-year-old child was getting a hamster and go, my daughter used to have a hamster, and 3 days later he just gave my mum like £400 worth of hamster stuff. Every year, he'd do the whole showroom up for Christmas, dress up as Santa and give out presents to the kids in the area. This happened on the day my mum took me over to her work so I could say thank you for the hamster stuff. So, we got there and we were waiting for him to be free. I was talking to the people at the desk because I knew all of them when suddenly we heard this woman's raised voice. We looked over to see this old woman, old to a 14-year-old, so she could have been anything between 40 and 60. She was with the owner, and she was absolutely laying into him because they couldn't do whatever it was she wanted. Now everyone working there always wore a red jumper, but not a name badge, because everyone's desk had a nameplate. By chance, I was wearing a red jumper but not the same red, not even a particularly similar red, that day. The woman comes up to me. I can only assume she must have been short-sighted or something because my 14-year-old face did not look anywhere near working age. I could more easily have passed for a 10-year-old than a 16 to 17-year-old, and my entire work experience at that point was help put magazines in envelopes to post. She said, I need to book my car in an alone car. I said to her, the service desk is over there. And no, I didn't sound like an adult either. She insisted, no, I told you. Now, go get it sorted, I need to be gone in 10 minutes. I said, I'm sorry, I don't work here, I'm not even old enough. At that point, she cut me off and went off, I don't have time for your excuses. I need to be gone in 10 minutes. Now get me that loan car. A moment later, a hand came down on my shoulder. I look up, and it was the owner. He said, I'll handle this. How can I help, madam? I backed off to the service desk and watched. The service guys were already giving shocked looks to each other, but the woman just got louder and shriller. She said, I am a close personal friend of John Jeffries, the owner. Now, I need my service and a loan car. The owner asked, do you have a booking? But Karen insisted, I don't need a booking, I'm a friend of the owner. He said, unfortunately madam, the workshop is fully booked today, but we can book you in for a later date. Karen yelled, you will do it today. That's it. Who do you answer to? At this point, everyone in the room, and some back office staff was looking at her. This is where the owner gave an answer that I will never forget because it was so calm and quiet, madam, I answer to no one but God. Karen yelled, what, that's it. What is your name? You and that disrespectful child are gone. He told her, John Jeffries, the owner, and to the best of my knowledge, we've never met. Also, that child is literally a child, not an employee. She kinda froze, then he gestured to the chart they used to have on the wall, with his face right at the top of it, above the word owner. She left and earned the ignoble quality of being one of only 2 customers who he ever wrote to saying, "You are no longer welcome at our business," in over 35 years of owning the company. The last story is called, How Not to Get the Girl. In my early 20s I had a much more active social life than I do now. I spent a lot of time with a platonic female friend, Katie. Katie was an interesting mix of a naive extrovert. She always assumed people were telling the truth, but when someone's story didn't quite add up, she would keep prodding them, sometimes to an uncomfortable extent, thinking she was just misunderstanding their bad lie. She was also a looker. She and I wound up at a house party of a friend of a friend of a friend. We were hanging out on the patio in a small group when an acquaintance briefly congratulated her on her new job at a well-known, semi-prestigious company in the area. Then Chad, a man in his mid-20s, wearing a pink polo and plaid shorts, perks up and slides up next to her. The conversation went like this: "Remember, Katie is totally sincere, the whole time." Chad said, "That's cool, my company and I were working at the executive offices of that company all this week." Katie said, "That's so exciting." Chad said, "Yeah, I know the head of that company pretty well." Katie asked, "Do you know Steve or Bob?" And Chad was confused and asked, "What?" So Katie said, "Steve is the owner, but Bob is the president and runs most everything." It's clear at this point that Chad doesn't quite know which door to pick. He said, "Oh, yeah, Steve." Katie asked, "White hair, pretty tall, older?" Chad was clearly relieved that Katie is giving up some information he can pretend he already knew so he can hop back on the light train to Pound Town. He said, "Yes, I worked with him a lot this past week at his office." Katie asked, "Really? He was out on vacation, are you sure it wasn't Bob?" Chad tries to cover, "Actually, I don't remember the name." Katie said, "I bet it was Bob. Are you working on that project?" I loved how he went from, "I know him really well" to "I worked with for a week" to "I don't remember his name." Chad is fully aware now that he shouldn't have inflated the time he spent moving Bob's furniture, installing his Ethernet cables, or whatever he actually did the past workweek. Chad said, "No, it was something else. Can't really talk about it. You know how it is. He's a cool guy though." Katie said, "That's so nice. What's your name?" Chad takes her hand and tries a seductive handshake and said, "Chad." And Katie said, "Chad, got it. I'll tell Bob on Monday I met you. I'll have to learn about this secret project." At this point, I know I'm giving a look of, "Dude, you are truly messing this up," and I know a few other people in the circle probably are too. Chad finally realizes the jig is up. Chad said, "Oh cool. Yeah, no, don't mention it. It's no biggie. But hey, I see a buddy of mine. Catch you later." And with that, Chad beelines for the other side of the house. What I knew, what most of our group knew, but what Chad didn't, is that Katie was Bob's new personal assistant but had interned with him for over 4 years. The reason why she wasn't in the office last week was that she was on vacation with her dad, the owner of the company. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.